completely on free energy, but it can be supposed that the US occupiers of Germany do not want Germany to have the Tesla free energy. Comment of the translator. As CEO, Merkel was scheduled for a time in office of 16 years, 2005 to 2021. There was a PR campaign prepared, in all regions, which resulted in installation of windcraft and solar energy plants. Some corporate groups could be convinced to offer their roofs for that purpose, for producing more energy. By that we were able to suck a sufficient quantity of energy out of the public net, to cover the need of our extremely energy-intense bunker sites. 2010 the so-called climate turn was started to be pushed, and after the blowing up of Fukushima in 2011 it was no more problem to keep it running. Comment of translator. The German original states the word Springung in relation of Fukushima. This states clearly that there was a man-made act involved, and she seems to know about. All the English expressions are not as clear as this German word. In 2010 I was assisting at different ministries to install collective bunkers below the cities: Berlin, Cologne, Hamburg, Bremen, Kiel, Düsseldorf, Munich and Stuttgart. You may certainly have noticed that the new Berlin airport is a bottomless pit, and the reason for this is that 95% of the money is being derailed for our purposes. The airport will never get finished. Same with the project Stuttgart 21, a such-like project. Truly, in every single of the named cities there is a large building project which is consuming disproportionate amounts of money. This money is being used for projects as mine. In Berlin drilling was not possible due to the very hard structure of the ground. We had to blast, especially the high-security bunker of the Wehrmacht, officially called Federal Armed Forces, below the office of the Federal Chancellor, was extremely difficult to build. We were always on the brink of blowing our cover. The popular Edition House of Distraction, COP, I adore this Edition House because of its courage, has reported several times, as well as others, too, of nightly sounds of explosions in Berlin Wedding and Mitte. They have not failed to hear correctly. They were right with their supposals. It's just that nobody will believe them. You will know by yourself how deep the Germans have their heads sticking into the sand bucket. For ourselves this was a great advantage. We were able to blast and build up the tunnels and nuclear security areas during day and night. Overpressure was being gassed out via 2 storehouses in Wedding and 3 startup carriers in Berlin Mitte, which enabled us to go on with the job until 2015 without delay. My mental ruin. In June 2012 I was announced project leader in the planning staff New Europe, and from then on my health started to fail. In 2012 the UN secretly announced the application of the migration weapon against Europe in 2015. Through ruses of the UN, the World Bank and the EU were installed 5 recruiting centers for workers in Africa as well as 10 further centers in Middle East. Anybody matching the criteria was given a smartphone and €2,500 cash, then being integrated into the predefined refugee routes. The German offices were informed about and became coordinated. Officially this started in 2015, but unofficially all of that was already kicked off in 2013, at first in lower numbers. Only in 2015 we enter Operation Sirius set the ball rolling. Suited candidates ideally had to be 20-30 years of age. Procreative, was tested. Have an IQ of 90 at max. As uneducated as possible, more violent and more easy to conduct. Be Wahhabite or Salafi and ideally disdain Christs. Must have. Nice to have. Especially welcome were men peeking out by abnormal sexual behavior, like pedophiliac or homosexual, and whose tendency to violence against women was noticeable. In order to tease them additionally, one arranged their being confronted with women having been recruited under pressure via job centers, paid just starvation wages, just having received a 2-hour crash advice about how to deal with these stinky and over-aggressive men not being able to speak any European language. This took place in France, Austria and Germany. It was hoped for an increasement of birth rates by resolute sexual actions, rape, no joke. This is the exact wording of the Federal Ministry for Family Affairs. As often security personnel was present, it took some time until the security personnel started to look away, and it occurred in 576 cases that sexual international understanding happened, leading to procreation in 44 cases. The babies were taken away from the mothers directly after birth and given under custody of the state. In all cases the women were fired and indicted of ensnarement of underage wards. A diversity of high-paid Islam experts is being involved, who are not set up for supervision to find out if somebody is connected to IS, but to lead targeted actions of the sleeper agents under control of the protection of the Constitution. In the accommodation facilities, especially in cities, Muslims are becoming exercised to disdain female priests. I have gained knowledge of 48.323 covered cases of indications of rape, countryside as well as metropolitan areas, alone in 2015. While propaganda drum loves to present more and more impudent Muslims on TV, behaving like Nazis in years 33-45, translator, PLS. Do your homework and educate yourselves on true German history, in order to elicit the Germans for coming out from behind their collectedness. As well, left-hand radical violence by autonomous and anarchists comes apart at the seams in a way which makes me wonder how media can ignore those over years. Of course, one needs to be aware of the fact that 99% of these people are in service to the state, protection of the Constitution, from one of the many troops for handling special situations, paid by the CEO with 40 million a year, since 2009. These have been responsible for burned cars, etc. Entertainment out of the pot of the Jez payers. Jez is a fee every German has to pay to support the media. Comment of the trans. The groups are being selected and sorted into 5 waves. Wave 1. Harmless people and children. Wave 2. Sick children and elder people. Wave 3. People with infectious diseases, infertile women, widows. Wave 4. Highly aggressive teens and psychopaths. Wave 5. Rebels and army members, able to handle weapons and indoctrinated. This latter group is the one residing in our bunkers by thousands already. We are up to 30% at present. By mid of 2017 the remaining 70% will arrive by night flights at the airports of Cologne, Düsseldorf, Ramstein, Frankfurt-Hahn. Comment of the trans. Edition House Cop, mentioned above, has reported about these flights bringing in further Muslims, and stated they would immediately be put in buses driving away with unknown destination. The newspaper, Jungfreiheit, which is not a part of the mainstream news, but recently showing a change in this direction, has brought an article bashing Cop for claiming the Muslim arrivals by airplane at night, stating this was not proved and it was just tourist flights arriving, low-priced and therefore at night. So, obviously they have been bought by some unknown agent. End of 2016 the 5 Africa recruiting centers will start to send their 5 waves, comprising in total 8 million of highly aggressive Africans, as well as 2 million weak-minded, so the official expression, the unofficial one is slaughter cattle, to Germany. Meanwhile there have been built or rented supply, logistics bunkers below every larger city, stocking hundreds of thousand tons of freeze-dried food, for all who will be prepared to be refit shipped after the crash in 2017. There is no food reserve planned and stocked for hearts for people and retired persons. These are officially set free to pass, more precisely to starve. This is what the state has planned, since they implemented ALG 2, equals Arbeitslosengeld 2, a social support people get if they remain unemployed for more than 1 year. Comment of the trans. They are expecting a lot of loss, dead employees, in the social offices and job centers. For these reasons these employees were selected accordingly, which means these people are preferably outside the subject area, ruthless, weak, uneducated, envious, malicious, of bad character, migration background welcome, bad German language skills and physical handicaps, so that they cannot escape from their pursuers. One-man security personnel is just a security gap in the eyes of a veteran, not even a victim. This is wanted. For the coward employees should not be holding back with penalties and lean far out of the window, so that people are being driven into actions of disconsolation, for pure existential fear. And besides, jail offers 3 warm meals, shelter and heating at no charge, and you are in companionship. Sorry for my cynicism. The big crash is scheduled for 2017. CEO Merkel will then put into effect the changed emergency laws, origin 1968, and withdraw into the Chancellor bunker, together with her crisis staff, in 160 meters depth below Berlin, offering a luxury letting every Hilton look pale. All being financed out of the pot of social performance. Cost of about €12 billion. It is offering fully autarkic security to Mrs. Young Pig, equals word game, name Merkel. A young pig is a Ferkel in German, and her female spouse. Merkel has a husband, but who knows if this is not just a cover, comment of Transl, as well as to her Chancellor office staff including families, for unknown time. Comment, some person has leaked pictures of luxury bunkers under Germany without stating the location. I have seen them and I can acknowledge its high-class luxury. The Chancellor office building owns bootable shields made of bulletproof steel and air defense missiles upon the roof. 60 meters above the CEO Merkel leader bunker, the Federal Army General Staff has its emergency seat for 2,000 soldiers designated for special operation, equipment and mini Pentagon Central Command, large capacity computer and directive central, being able to give orders to all 1,2 million soldiers waiting inside the subground bunkers. As soon as the social systems will have collapsed, the schedule foresees a massive and merciless attack against the German population of German offspring, Bio-German. At first the police is set up to run an unpromising fight, afterwards the federal armed forces will be directed to slaughter each other, and then, when the pot is boiling at high temperature, they are going to open up the subground bunkers and WW3 will begin. According to the schedule, at least 15 million citizens of German offspring, preferably elders and economically weak, shall be eliminated without mercy. There are planned mass expropriations and the properties will be gifted to us American holdings at low price. The German population will not be having any rights until 2019. Whoever will be up in arms against the government will be shot. This has already been legalized by the Contract of Lisbon. The US troops will overfly Germany with their Reaper drones, intending to bomb every larger rebellion or mass gathering of people by hellfire or napalm, and the press will talk about deviators or enemies of the state. Whoever is against Merkel is against Germany, is an enemy of democracy and freedom. The Third Reich is still here, it has been waiting in the shadow and is now showing up again with a changed crew. Comment, please do your homework. 180 detention centers for Bio-Germans and German offspring, derailed artists and dissidents, peace messengers and protesters are currently being built, and anybody revolting will be placed in such a camp for starving. Comment, Eisenhower 2.0, see tag Rinwissenlager, or Rinwissen camp. It's exactly as they told us how it seemingly used to be. Who'll resist to play their Nazi game is one of today's Nazis. Cologne was, by the way, just to set up orchestration for testing the reaction of the population. The press was receiving their concept papers only days after. Internal security had planned this in Jan 2015 already. The testing balloon was Sylvester at Cologne. The inditions of the females from Cologne and everything around was just a PR show, as government intended to awake the rage of the Germans, but these are so full up, vegan and meek as a lamb that there were just a few more reactions than some shitstorms. I recite, whoever is suffering burning sensations in the own lap, caused by penetrating violence, still has no idea about half of Africa wanting to additionally fuck you. This was recited from a Schwarzer, who said this on a press party, drunk as a skunk. I was standing next to her. Perhaps a few harmless air bubbles went up, the usual stuff. The area around the dome would not even offer room enough for a flash mob. Also nice, Brussels and Munich as well as the attack of Bruegg was just entertainment for security personnel, labeled as real terror attacks, as usual. Just the same way as the blowing up the World Trade Center, maybe there will be a few civil victims having been at the wrong location by error. But since 20 years all of the terror scenarios are being operated by hand of the state, otherwise its power would reduce. Fear runs the world and the business around makes about 90% of world economy. Be safe. Keep away from the following cities: Cologne, Dresden, Berlin, Hamburg, Duisburg, Düsseldorf, Oberhausen, Schwerin, Potsdam, Ulm, Frankfurt, Bremen. These are cities which will be 100